Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, the show where we break down the latest and greatest in academic research. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you're all tucked in and feeling that Christmas magic. We all love it, right?
Yeah.
But ever thought about how that magic's actually, made?
Oh, it's fascinating. We get caught up in the wonder, but behind it all, there's planning, effort, sometimes even myth-making, really.
And that's what we're diving into. We're going behind the scenes of a very specific Christmas thing, those visits to Santa in Lapland, Finland.
Right. We've got this research paper. It's really interesting about how Lapland became like the place for that authentic Santa experience, like a business school case study, but with elves.
Okay, so unpack this for me. We know the Santa myth, right? North Pole flying around. But how Lapland, Finland become the spot to actually go meet him?
Well, it wasn't just random. People made choices, deliberate ones that made Lapland Santa's tourist home. Got to look back a bit to get it.
All right, give me the timeline. What were the big moments that put Lapland on the map, so to speak?
First one, way back, 1927, a Finnish radio host. He tells his listeners Santa's actually living on this hill in Finland. Then, 1950s, Eleanor Roosevelt, she visits this Arctic cabin in Lapland. Not Santa's grotto exactly, but it got attention on the region.
So start building some recognition at least.
Yeah, exactly. Then, 70s, British travel agent sees potential, starts pushing Lapland as this Christmas destination, really played up the snowy landscapes, winter wonderland vibe.
Bet that worked well, especially the UK, right, where a white Christmas isn't, well, a guarantee.
You got it. But the real game changer, 1984, Concorde flights. They start these day trips from the UK straight to Lapland, specifically to see Santa. That's when Lapland became the spot for this authentic experience.
So targeted audience, UK tourists, quick luxury trip to Santa. Clever, but creating a whole experience around a myth. Got to be more than flights and ads, right?
Totally. Our research is on this agency, TravX. They went all out. Partnered with local businesses, built a whole system around the Santa visit.
A system? Okay, break that down. What did it actually look like on the ground?
Imagine it. Reindeer herders for sleigh rides, husky mushers doing the sledding, even the Santa Hotel, they're all in on it. A network of businesses all working together.
Wow, so it wasn't just bringing tourists in, it was helping local businesses too. Win-win, huh?
Yeah, one of the cool things about this setup, it wasn't just profiting off the myth, it built a whole industry, involved the whole community.
That's great. But how did they actually sell this to tourists? Convince them Lapland was the real Santa home, not just a made-up one.
The marketing was smart. They used words that fit the Santa myth, enchanting, true Lapland, where magic remains, selling an experience, an escape from the everyday.
Like taking something, well, intangible, a story, and making it real. How'd they translate that into, a physical thing you could experience?
That's where the work comes in. They had to really build a world that matched the myth. English-speaking Santa, real reindeer, not flying ones, obviously, and even the snowy landscapes all fit that perfect Christmas picture.
Right, the classic image. Speaking of reindeer, bet those were tricky. How'd they deal with kids asking about, well, Santa's flying reindeer?
They couldn't exactly have them soaring around, but got creative. Research says the reindeer handlers would tell visitors the reindeer couldn't eat while working, be distracting from pulling the sleigh, and encouraged folks to leave carrots for later.
So, turned a problem into a cute detail, kept the myth going. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. It's like they were always adapting, weaving the story into everything.
Exactly, and that's what's so fascinating. They made this authentic Santa experience, even when, well, things didn't go to plan.
Oh, I bet. Lapland weather. Got to be unpredictable. Imagine the challenges.
Oh, for sure. All sorts of unexpected things. Like one year, the lake they used to get folks to Santa's cottage didn't freeze over all the way. Logistical nightmare.
No, what did they do? Couldn't just cancel the whole thing?
Had to think fast. Ended up using a shipping container. Temporary Santa's grotto.
A shipping container. Talk about adapting. Shows how committed they were. Keeping the magic going, even with setbacks.
It's the perfect example of how the myth itself, it was like a framework, flexible. They could adapt, but stay true to the Santa story.
So cool how they mix the practical with the, well, fantastical. We've talked history, marketing, logistics.
Yeah.
But what about meeting Santa? That's the main event, right?
It is. And you might be surprised, it's all carefully planned, the whole meeting choreographed down to the second. Whole system to make it run smoothly.
Really? Okay, picture me arriving, all excited. Walk me through it. What would a tourist actually experience?
So you get to the airport, maybe a bit overwhelmed, right? And safaris, they handle things there. They greet you, guide you through it all. They use colored tags, assign tourists to specific Santas, so nobody's lost.
Wait, multiple Santas? Never would have guessed?
Yep. Several Santas working at once, but it's all a secret, right? Keeps that illusion going that there's only one.
That's smart. So how do they manage all those people without anyone figuring out there's, well, more than one Santa?
Paper checklist system works better than tech in the cold. Schedule each family's visit, and while people wait, they do all the other activities, reindeer, husky sledding, all that.
Like a well-oiled machine disguised as a winter wonderland. But gotta ask, how'd they find so many convincing Santas?
Ooh, that's a story for part 2. We'll get into Santa casting next time. Stay tuned.
So last we left off, it was all about finding the right Santa, the perfect one.
Yeah.
It's been pretty key to making this whole thing work, huh?
Absolutely. The research really gets into that, how important it was to get those Santas who could really play the part, make that 4-minute meeting special.
Okay, so what were they looking for? Was it all looks, the white beard, the jolly face, all that classic Santa stuff?
Looks mattered, sure, had to look the part, but needed more than that. Had to connect with kids, be able to go with the flow, really get that Christmas spirit across, almost like finding an actor,
Because it is a performance in a way, right?
Yeah.
Creating that illusion. But they wanted it to be, authentic within that performance.
Right. And that balance, not easy to find. Research even mentions the story. 2012 UK media, they were talking about this rubbish Santa hired for one of the trips. Fake beard, posh accent, didn't even bring presents.
Oh no, what a disaster, those poor kids.
Total misfire. But shows how important casting was. That whole thing, it made the head of operations at N Safaris, he really doubled down on getting real Santas. Folks who just, we're Santa, no need for fake stuff.
So, learn from mistakes, adjusted, got better. Makes you wonder, what were those Santa auditions like? Must have been interesting.
I bet. But let's go back to the experience itself. That 4 minutes with Santa, that was the big moment after a whole day, sometimes a whole weekend, of all these planned activities, the peak of the whole authentic thing.
Right, so they built it all up, got that anticipation going. You're in Lapland, seen the reindeer, done some sledding, whatever. Then finally, Santa time. How'd they set that up?
Remember the color tags? And safaris, using those to match folks to Santas. That was key to making it run smooth.
I'm guessing those tags weren't just for, crowd control. They were part of the fun too, right?
Exactly. The research, it suggests those tags, they weren't just practical, they added to the whole excitement. Imagine being a kid, getting your tag, knowing you're getting closer to Santa.
Like a golden ticket. Must have been so much excitement for the little ones. So then what?
Well, after all the activities, they'd call families up, based on their tag color. Then the magic really started. Sleigh ride through the forest, this path lit by candles leading up to Santa's cottage, really set the mood.
Sounds like a Christmas movie. But I'm sure there were tons of people working behind the scenes, making sure it all happened right.
Oh, yeah. Researchers talked to some of the guides, the ones from N Safaris. They described this whole system, all this coordination going on behind the scenes, walkie-talkies, making sure everyone was on time. Each family got that smooth experience.
Like a big choreographed dance, everyone playing their part to make it look effortless, magical.
Exactly. And then finally, there you are at the cottage, and there's Santa greeting each kid by name, chatting about their Christmas list, all about making it personal.
It's amazing, how they made it feel that way, even with all the people, all the planning.
Yeah.
It says something about that whole Santa myth, how strong it is.
It does, and it shows something really interesting about myths in general, especially when it comes to, business. This whole Lapland thing wouldn't exist without the Santa myth. People are paying to experience a story, literally.
Wow, when you put it like that. Shows how powerful these stories are, how they can shape what we want, even what we buy. We're talking Lapland, but are there other times myths have been used like this, turned into whole markets?
Oh, tons. Think Disney, right. Built a whole empire on fairy tales, childhood dreams.
Yeah.
Even political campaigns. They use myths and stories to connect with people, get them to vote a certain way.
It's everywhere. But the Lapland example, it's fascinating because it's so specific to one place, one time of year. They've turned it into this global thing, but it all happens right there.
Shows the power of storytelling and how creative and, resilient the people involved are. They've mixed the myth and the real world in a way that makes something totally unique.
I'm still thinking about all that detail, all that planning. Who knew so much went into, making Christmas magic.
It's a good reminder, even the most fantastical things, they often come from real effort, real people, planning, adapting, solving problems, and yeah, sometimes a little bit of luck too.
Makes me wonder, what other myths are shaping our world? The stuff we buy, the places we go, even the leaders we choose. Myths, they're powerful things.
It is, yeah. Powerful forces shaping what we want, how we see things. It's something to think about, not just at Christmas time. What myths are we buying into? What stories are affecting our choices, our views?
Deep stuff. But as we wrap up our look at how Christmas magic gets made, I gotta say, Merry Christmas again, everyone. But this time, let's remember all that work, all the skill that goes into those magical moments.
And a little bit of, healthy questioning, maybe. Even the biggest myths, they're often carefully put together, used for a reason, doesn't make them less powerful, but it's good to think about the stories we tell ourselves, the worlds we build.
Well said. We hope you found it insightful. If you want to dig deeper into the research yourself, we'll include a link to the full paper in the show notes.
And if you enjoyed this episode of Revise and Resubmit, be sure to subscribe to our channel on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the latest academic research.